So we're starting off with some of the slower cars from earlier on in the qualifying section. Here pulling away is the 505 Aston Martin Ulster in the hands of Holly Mason Franchitti.
The Ulster gaining its sobriquet thanks to the great success in Northern Ireland at the Ard circuit, a 1-2-3 in class for Aston Martin. And on the back of that, they took the Ulster tag. Holly Mason Franchitti, daughter of Nick Mason, married to Marino Franchitti, accelerates up Park Straight with a road that is drying out all the time. It was pretty wet and horrible for the bulk of the morning, but actually it's drying fairly swiftly now. There are still one or two damp patches, but the more cars we send up the hill, the drier it gets, the quicker it gets as well.
5 seconds up, Holly Mason steering in the first sector as she continues this climb. And it's just amazing, isn't it, to see the cars getting quicker and quicker and quicker as we go through the order. And then you see the oddities in there, don't you, where some of the older cars, for example, Julien Majoub is out there in a historic Bugatti, and he ends up in the middle of a lot of modern machinery. Yeah,
Julien Majoub is going to be worth watching. Not saying that Holly Mason Franchitti is not worth watching here in this car that dates back to 1935. It's a 1.5-litre 4-cylinder engine. And as the cars then come to the timing line, it's up through the gears, assuming you've got gears, which isn't the case for everybody in this, if you're in one of the electric cars. But the time that is set is an 87.30. So Holly Mason Franchitti then to the top of the times.
This is the Penske Xerox Special, a 2.7-litre 4-cylinder engine. Gregory Heacock is driving it, and it was originally a Cooper Formula One car, but it was crashed and then resurrected as a sports racing car by a young Roger Penske, who went on to have a reasonable amount of success in Formula One, winning a Grand Prix in 1976, and then more notably in America.
And then the car was sold to Bruce McLaren, who then started building his own sports cars and Formula One cars. So in a sense, this car, you can effectively trace its lineage to the start of the McLaren car dynasty. So the car up towards the timing line, and Gregory Heacock on this ever-drying road accelerates now towards the finish line, an 87.30 to beat.
Here he comes then up towards the line, and he cuts the timing beam, and he's going to go quicker than Holly Mason steering, and is 20 seconds up. So that was a good little lap from the Xerox there as he comes across the line. Now we go back in time a little.
You talked about oddities. We have all sorts in this run. Julian Grimwade's Bentley 3-litre Le Mans we should have next. And the car coming to the line. This, the 1925 Le Mans 3-litre Bentley. Julian himself has been a regular in the Vintage Sports Car Club events for many, many years. A great Bentley enthusiast. And away he goes. Accelerate off the line. We're celebrating Bentley's centenary, of course, this weekend here. And it's a company still, of course, massively involved in sports car racing with modern-day GT cars. But Julian Grimwade then takes to the hill, accelerates up Park Straight. This car that was driven in the 1925, or entered for the 1925 Le Mans. That was the year that the famous Le Mans start was inaugurated, where you ran across the road. But the organisers insisted that for the first 20 laps, the car had to run with the roof up. So it was harder to get in, and therefore it didn't behave quite as the drivers wanted. But that was the regulation that year. Now it's allowed to run up the hill with the roof down. And Julian Grimwade, with the air conditioning then, sitting out in the fresh air, going through Morecambe.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And to imagine these cars racing around Le Mans back in the day, when Le Mans was really, really Le Mans. If you want to see a great view of Le Mans in the past, there's an onboard lap with Mike Hawthorne in, I think, a D-type Jaguar, and he takes it round on just a regular day, and he's saying, oh, mind the postman, oh, mind the chickens that are running across the road. Search for that on the old interweb, because that is quite something.
So this is sedate motoring in comparison with what we will get to see later, but Julian Grimwade's Bentley 3-litre Le Mans up towards the line then. A 67.3 is what the target time has now dropped to for Greg Heacock in the Penske Xerox Special. And there is the checkered flag, there is the timing line, there is the Bentley 3-litre Le Mans that does a time good enough for third, a 98.98 second run. So next we turn our attention to Robert Murray. Takes to the hill in the Aston Martin Grand Prix, 11 horsepower.
And this is a Green P, one of two cars entered at the 1922 French Grand Prix at Strasbourg, where it was driven by Count Louis Zabrowski. So an awful lot of history in this car. And it makes its way up the hill in that 11 horsepower machine. We'll get more horsepower as the day progresses, and we'll even end up in kilowatts.
We will indeed, yes, because we are modern, aren't we? And this car, still quick, still competitive in Vintage Sports Car Club events, and taking you back to the very early days of the Aston Martin company. Aston Martin, founded in 1913 by Lionel Martin and Robert Bamford. It took its name from a hillclimb event where Lionel Martin had competed at Aston Hill, and it spawned the early 11 horsepower prototypes, Green P, Razor Blade, the Holford Special. And although Aston Martin then decades later had perhaps more success in sports car racing, it was a Grand Prix constructor for a brief period with the DBR4, an example of which we had here this weekend as well. So Robert Murray in this car that dates back to 1922, you wouldn't anticipate to beat a 67 time, but he does go across the timing line to go third with an 87.69 as the time that he sets. Now this is George Winguard in the Fiat. This another very early car, this going back to 1911, 14.2 litre, four-cylinder engine, enormous four-cylinder engine to be fair, bought initially by the American millionaire Caleb Bragg. He won the 1912 American Grand Prix, and former Oregon State Senator George Winguard, PhD, is the man not so much driving it, but being driven by the Fiat as he goes past the fake wall.
What's his PhD in?
Anthropology.
Anthropology?
I thought you'd have known that.
Oh, sorry.
You being a student of human behaviour and all. Yeah, how about this? This is the beast of Turin. This is the redoubtable Duncan Pittaway at the wheel. And this car, every time you see it, it takes your breath away. 28.4 litre engine, four cylinders. Only two of these were ever built. This was driven by the very brave Pietro Bordino. It took the record for the flying mile on Solberg Sounds in 1911. It got up to 116 miles an hour. Duncan Pittaway brought this car back from Australia, where it had been taken by a Russian prince. He's repainted it, he's gone racing in it, he's gone hill climbing in it, and it is just an amazing machine.
I feel like you must have to repaint the left-hand side every day, because it spits out the flames, it spits out the smoke. So keep an eye. If you see the driver's left as it comes up the hill, you'll see it banging and popping and covering the car with black marks. Climbs up the hill now, races this car. If you were at the members meeting earlier in the year, or watch or come to the Goodwood revival later in the year, you'll see Duncan Pittaway throwing this car around wheel to wheel with other cars, and he drove it here from Bristol. So there you go. He drives it on the road. He'll be driving it home as well. So absolutely amazing stuff. Duncan Pittaway across the line in the Fiat S76, and he sets an 81.09 seconds. This now is Sally Mason-Stirren in the Ferrari 160 MM Barchetta, which is a beautiful little car. And it's great to see this 1950 2-litre V12. And it was designed by Carrozzeria Touring around the mission that weight is the enemy and wind is the obstacle.
So now you know.
Oh yeah, I mean that goes for all of us, doesn't it? But
leave yourself. Sally Mason-Stirren, the very first competitor ever up the hill at the very first Goodwood Festival of Speed, and she's been a very welcome visitor every year since. This oh so pretty Ferrari 166 MM Barchetta up towards Moulcombe, and Mason-Stirren's husband and wife, ardent Ferrari enthusiasts, and up to the top of the hill. Time to beat still is that of Gregory Heacock, and it remains a 67.38, but at the moment it's looking pretty good, but it is going to fall undoubtedly.
So here comes Sally up to the top in this lovely little Ferrari, as I said, from 1950, coming up to cut the timing beam and complete her run. Great sound, isn't it? It's not a wailing V12 like we hear from some of the other Ferraris, but it still sounds brilliant.
It's had quite a lot of mileage as well over the weekend. There's the checkered flag. Sally Basin-Styron will break the timing beam 5th quickest on an 88.01 for that run up the hill.
I love this car. This is the Scat Type C Racer Targa Florio, the car that won the Targa Florio in 1911. Andrew Howe Davis at the wheel, and he regularly takes it back. The Targa Florio not existing as a race as it did in those days, but he takes it back and drives it around anyway.
He does, and when he went up the hill on Friday, he said, "Oh, that was quicker than I thought it was going to be," because this is the first time that Andrew Howe Davis has had a go up here. This car, as Jack says, from 1911, 4.4 litre 4-cylinder engine, and the car heads towards Moulcombe Corner now. Again, as so many cars of that era, the driver sitting on it rather than in it. No real protection at all. There's no roll cage, there's no side protection, there's no seatbelt even. It's just down to the driver's bravery and how much of the right foot he's prepared to apply that gets you safely through the corners. And as the sun now starts to break through and the road dries, the speed builds as he heads up towards Flintwall.
And this is the era that was really creating the start of the Italian motor industry. Giovanni Serrano sold the rights of his first car to Giovanni Agnelli, of Fiat, and this Scat was built in its in Turin, and it's fantastic to see it up and across the line. Andrew Howe Davis having some fun with it as well. The Targa Florio Scat Type C, lovely stuff.
Being urged on to the timing line as we now see it's Gareth Graham taking the seat of Ben Collins in the Mercedes Grand Prix, and we're celebrating 125 years of Mercedes. Look at the way it's all vibrating through the steering wheel as it rattles away from the line. So Gareth Graham, who's not driven the car, I don't believe, this weekend, but we've had a bit of driver shuffling, so he takes over. We were told from Ben Collins for this car, but that graphic telling us it's Herman Leyer in the Benz 200 Blitz & Benz first of all to go, which makes sense, forgive me, as he goes now up towards Park Straight.
Yeah, this is the Blitz & Benz from 1909, so I think it's the first time that we've seen it out in time running at all, the Blitz & Benz. It does run in the members' meeting, so Herman Leyer obviously happy to just get in and chuck it up the hill, and it was built with one aim in mind, to break the 200-kilometre barriers, which is 124 miles an hour, that even in 1909, trains and aircraft couldn't do that kind of speed. It was incredible. 21.5 litre, 4-cylinder engine in that car. As I say, I think it's the first time we've seen it up in the timed runs this weekend. Even these guys, you can hear them balancing it on the throttle, giving it a bit more, giving it a bit more. This isn't a Sunday afternoon drive.
Far from it. It may not look as quick as others, but there's a huge amount of effort being put into this, and Herman Leyer with the car dancing around the road with those skinny tyres up towards the timing line. 67.3 to beat. Where's he going to drop in? The time is confirmed as putting him 4th fastest, 86.60, as he heads down the continuation road towards the turning circle.
So next up will be
Gareth Graham.
Here's
the one I prepared earlier.
Okay, well, tell us, David.
Well, only that he's taken the car over from Ben Collins and away he blasts. So he's driven other things this weekend, but not this car. So the Mercedes Grand Prix, Gareth Graham for this 1908 12.8 litre 4-cylinder engine car. It's owned by Martin Wiesmann. Ben Collins, who is married to the Duke of Richmond's sister, has been driving it for the majority of the weekend, but it's now going to be Gareth Graham behind the wheel. Grand Prix regulations agreed in 1907. They stipulated cars had to have a minimum weight of 1,100 kilos, a cylinder bore smaller than 155 millimetres, and the 1908 French Grand Prix held in Dieppe, and it was Christian Lautenschlager winning in a Mercedes Grand Prix such as this, and beautifully presented this car, absolutely immaculate. And Gareth Graham, more of a Bentley specialist though, is certainly driving it very swiftly indeed.
Certainly is, as he comes up to the Flint wall. I believe it was this exact car that won that 1908 French Grand Prix, beating the runner-up by nearly 9 minutes. Sounds like a modern Formula 1 race. I joke.
Well, especially with Mercedes winning it, quite. So
that's true.
Gareth Graham to the end of the run. 67.3 remaining the best time, but that's from a much more recent car that didn't do a great run yesterday. We're going to the older machinery here, so you wouldn't really anticipate them to be as quick, but we will get times much faster than that. Second, however, goes Gareth Graham, so he may not be well versed in the car, but he's put it to good use. So now David Ayer in the Bentley Bernardo Hassan Special takes to the hill, number 156. Mentioned earlier on that we're celebrating the Bentley centenary, and here's another example of the lineage of the company.
Willie Hassan, a man who built an awful lot of the Bentleys for racing, and this was specially made for Brooklands, the first permanent racetrack in the world, if I recall correctly.
So,
yeah, and it's got an 8-litre engine, single-seat cockpit, and it lapped Brooklands at 143 miles an hour in 1938. That is quite some speed in the late 30s.
Because you're not talking billiard smooth circuit.
No.
Are you talking a banked oval, a bumpy oval, which for much of the time cars would be in the air as they bounced over the bumps. David Ayer then in this Bentley Bernardo Hassan Special heading up towards the timing line. And where is this going to put him relative to Gareth Graham? He's got to beat a 78.64 to be ahead. Can he do it? Can he? Yes, he can. Does a 76.18. Goes second fastest.
So good stuff from David Ayer, and this now is a Bentley Pacey Hassan Special. So another one built by Wally Hassan, this time for Bill Pacey, one of the Bentley boys, and he won the Brooklands Wheatstone meeting Gold Star outright back in 1936. So another one built by Wally Hassan, now for Bill Pacey, and it's William Metcalf who is at the wheel of it at the moment.
It's a 4.5 litre, 4-cylinder engine car, and as up through the gears goes William Metcalf. We've seen quite a bit of him on the hill this weekend, and always trying very, very hard. He blasts his way past the flint wall. Keep saying this, the road is getting drier, but it's going to be interesting to see what the later cars can do. So in this timed shootout final, the Bentley Pacey Hassan Special heads towards the line. So don't forget that in this we've got different classes. So you've got the fastest Pioneer racing car for the pre-1919s. You've got the fastest vintage racer, 19 to 1930. And as William Metcalf goes across the line, this car drops into the post-vintage racer class, 1931 to 1949. He goes third overall on a 76.89.
So we saw Ben Collins give up the Mercedes Grand Prix car that he's been driving so far this weekend, and now he's at the wheel of the W125, the Mercedes-Benz Grand Prix car from 1937. This was the car that won the European Championship that year, also was raced by pre-war greats like Richard Seaman.
It was a car that Colin Crabb found in Eastern Europe, brought back, restored it, and Imperial, the sort of car that Renault Cagiola, Manfred von Brapich and Herman Lang would have driven. Ben Collins, real Mercedes specialist. He is, of course, the brother-in-law of the Duke of Richmond, and he flings the car now past the flint wall, and he's back on the power as he heads towards the line. Now this is going to be quick. It should be quicker than that last handful of cars we saw. He's not going to get anywhere near the special. Yeah, he could just about sneak that, couldn't he? Because he's a brave driver, is Ben, and it's a nice streamlined car, this, even though it's giving away, what, 30 years or so. 67.3 to beat. Is he going to break 70 seconds? Yes, a 69.17 for Ben Collins in the Mercedes-Benz W125. That's a mighty effort as we look at the Aston Martin DB4 GT of Tom Alexander, an ex-Sterling Moss car. This built with a slightly more powerful engine and a shorter body than the earlier DB4 to take on the Ferrari 250 short wheelbases in GT racing.
Around 300 brake horsepower, and as you say, ex-Sterling Moss. It won on the car's debut in the International Trophy at Silverstone in 1959, a 3.7-litre straight-six engine for Tom Alexander, who's been progressively getting quicker over the course of the weekend, was pretty steady on his first run up the hill, but now he's getting faster and faster. He's going to be there or thereabouts with Heacock in that Penske Xerox Special we saw earlier on. He's about a second down coming up towards the line, so let's see whether he can get sub 70 seconds and slot into second place. There's the timing beam. No, not quite, but a 69.63, which is remarkably close between the second and third place cars.
And this is James Wood in the fantastic looking and sounding Alfa Romeo P3 Tipo B, 3.2-litre straight-eight supercharged engine car. Alfa Romeo had more of its success in Grand Prix racing in Europe. This car went to America. Frank Griswold bought it, took it to the States, entered it in the 1939 Indy 500. It didn't qualify because he wasn't fast enough. Griswold paid Louis Tomei to race for him, and the car finished 15th. It has come back to the UK and has been prolific in historic races, but it's one of the few P3s that had a stateside career. James Wood, very, very experienced historic racer, and he knows this car inside out. He's going to push this, and the time he's got to try to beat Silver's 67.38, but where is he going to blend in relative to Ben Collins in this battle for the cars up to 1949, the 31 to 49 class? So the time he's got to beat against Ben Collins is a 69.17. Can it be done? Can it be done? There's the flag. 70, 71. No, he doesn't quite do it. So Mercedes trumps Alfa Romeo.
Now this is the 1988 RF88 Van Diemen Ford, which is in the hands of Richard Wilson. This Michael Schumacher's first ever racing car.
Pretty much, it's a Formula Ford car, which was then the go-to junior single-seater category. Everybody had to run a Ford 1600cc Kent engine, but it was a multi-chassis Formula. Van Diemen, British company, one of the best ever in the history of Formula Ford, and it was run, this car, by Willy Bergmeister's team in the European and the German Championships. It came to the Formula Ford Festival, and Michael Schumacher used it to be second in the European Championship that year. Richard Wilson drives it, and so it's got a small engine, no wings, no aero. These used to give great racing, great slipstreaming, and again a significant car in the career of Michael Schumacher.
And he's half a second up as he climbs the hill. Naturally not in the same class as some of the cars we've seen before, but this might be the quickest time we've seen so far from Richard Wilson. Still see some Formula Ford racing in the UK at the likes of the Walter Hayes Trophy at Silverstone, but not quite what it once was, Formula Ford racing. And this car, Richard Wilson, in the hands of, goes quickest by 7/10 of a second. I love this. I love this. Julian Matube in the Bugatti Type 35B.
Just fabulous to watch this. It's a Malcolm Campbell K. Petrie car. Julian Matube very rarely goes in a straight line in anything. There's always a huge amount of commitment. He's a very, very accomplished historic racer, is Julian. He's of Iranian extraction and has made a good, successful career both in business and in motorsport in the UK. And he drives this ex-William Grover Williams Bentley with great gusto. And just watch this. There's a lot of experience in driving the car, but there's a lot of bravery and commitment being put into this as well. 2.3 litre straight 8 supercharged engine. And Julian Matube working his magic. Concentration, etched on his face, through Carnet's seat now, sawing away the wheels, sideways as he discovers the damp patches under the trees. Up toward the line, a 66.67 is the new top time from Richard Wilson. Julian Matube is going to beat him, isn't he, in the Bugatti? He is! He goes fastest on a 64.25 in a car dating back to 1927.
And that is what historic racing is, isn't it? That's what it would have looked like in the day. Absolutely superb stuff. This is an amazing car.
Oh, it is. Joe Macari, who's a specialist car dealer in London, he's raced in club racing in the UK, raced at Le Mans in modern GT machinery. He has this delectable 250 GT short wheelbase competition and drives it with a lot of verve, as you can see as he heads up the hill. It makes a great noise, and these were really excellent GT sports racing cars of the time, taking on the likes of Aston Martin and others.
So Joe Macari climbing the hill in this 250 GT short wheelbase, and this was the car we were talking about earlier when that Aston Martin came up, the blue one, the DB4 GT. It was built and designed to try and match this kind of car in the hands of Joe Macari now, and he might beat. It's going to be tight here with Julian Matube.
3 litre V12, magic sound. He's not going to beat the Bugatti, is he? So Joe Macari goes through, goes second fastest on a 66.01. So Julian Matube, lots and lots of wheel spin from the Italian. Marina McLaughlin's Benetton in the background as the Ford Sierra RS500 heads towards us. The car that won the Spa 24 Hours in 1990. Schneider and with Percy, and heads now onto Park Straight. The Sierra RS500 that came from the Cosworth just blew the doors off everything in international touring car racing for 2 or 3 glorious seasons.
And this was a good era of tin top racing, wasn't it?
It was. Star drivers you had in it, star teams, great racing. There was always the legality protests, but that aside, the racing was good. Gianfranco Brancatelli had already raced in Formula 1 in the late 1970s for the rather unsuccessful team before he became a touring car driver. In the mid-80s, he was the go-to driver to do great things for Uli Eckerberger in the Volvo 240 Turbo, and he was one of the few people that Tom Walkinshaw, who was a rival, feared. So in his team for the following year, put him in the 3rd car, and Gianfranco didn't get much mileage, which was one way of combating his pace. But a great driver, Gianfranco Brancatelli, really spectacular. The Sierra Cosworth has gone through. McLaughlin blasts away, lights up the tyres. 1992 Benetton, the car with which Michael Schumacher had his first Grand Prix win.
Yeah, we didn't see this cockpit with the Michael Schumacher celebration because it's out now in the timed run, and this was the car that he was teammates with Martin Brundle in 1992. Who took victory in Spa-Francorchamps that year, typically in a wet, dry race, I think it was, and the car that gave Schumacher his first. And if you, after that win, if you just said there's going to be another 90, you'd have got some funny looks. So here comes Lorena McLaughlin. She runs this car an awful lot at various hill climbs around the country. So hugely grateful that she brings it here to Goodwood and is running it up the hill, about a second away or so from the quickest time we've had so far.
And the fastest time is Gianfranco Brancatelli. It's always a fast-sounding name as well as being the fast driver. He's done a 63.61. Lorena is a little more circumspect in the Benetton, but not by much, and she will make it 64.74 seconds. 64.74 for Lorena McLaughlin's 1992 Benetton. Julian Majou watching all of this. He's second fastest now, but being outgunned by a Sierra RS500, that's not too shabby.
Certainly not in that wonderful Bugatti Type 35B. Now, here we go. The Carlos Sainz style rally car in the hands of Nick Jarvis, the Ford Escort Cosworth WRC. Love the sound of this as it bangs up through the gears, and he's 2 seconds up after the first 100 meters on the Ford Sierra Cosworth that we had up a moment ago. He's not really using the road there, is he? Just cut the corner, he'll be fine. It's a rally car.
Exactly. So rally cars are used to going off-road. There was Nick Jarvis mowing the lawn as he comes up to Park Straight. This car with the Repsol colours, braking late, scrabbling for grip. Again, he knocks wheels onto the dirt as he accelerates up towards Flintmore. This car that Carlos Sainz and his regular co-driver at the time, Luis Moya, shared for many an event. Many an adventure goes now up towards the completion of the run. Nick Jarvis, a great enthusiast, racer and rally driver, and he's putting a lot of effort into this, and it gets quicker and quicker season after season after season. The time to beat is Gianfranco Brancatelli's 63.61. This is going to be close. There's the flag, the Escort shooting at top, and it does a 56.92. Nick Jarvis fastest then in the rally spec Ford Escort.
Very good run then from Nick Jarvis up to the top of the hill. Look at him here at Moulcombe Corner. Little twitch and then just turns in super early. 2 wheels on the grass around the left-hander. I guess that's always going to give you a couple of tenths, isn't it? But maybe not the full 6 seconds. Now we get on to some Euro NASCARs. Coming off the line here is the Euro NASCAR of Jérôme Galpin. And he's a second down on Jarvis after the first 100 meters. But these basically NASCARs that race in Europe.
That's right. They have one oval event at the little circuit at Tours, not that far from Le Mans. The rest of it is on permanent circuits. Brands Hatch, in fact, next month is a venue, for example. Jérôme Galpin is the man behind this series. It is blessed by NASCAR. It's a sanctioned championship, and it's got stronger and stronger and stronger. They have a pro driver class, an elite driver class, and it's the same type of machinery. And Jérôme Galpin then comes past Flint Wall, pressing on. The time he's got to beat to go top is a 56.92, just set by Nick Jarvis.
It's only 3/10 of a second away, isn't he? Yeah. So Jérôme Galpin up to the line. And we'll see what he's got compared to Jarvis. Very different cars. One's a rally car, one's a NASCAR, and the quicker of the two is the rally car. Just by 3/10 of a second. In fact, there was only a thousandth splitting them in that final sector.
And that's the beauty of the Goodwood Festival of Speed, all this variety, and shows you who the really good drivers are, the brave drivers are in this. Don't forget, there's no warming up lap. You come out of the assembly area, you go down the hill, turn around, sit in the queue, and off you go. So you've got to try and get into the tyres and assess the grip as you go and not make a mistake. Todd Gilliland in another of the Euro NASCARs is next, till the target time, 56.92 seconds.
So we'll see what he can do against these Euro NASCARs. Gets a couple of wheels on the grass and has a bit of a slide. These are all basically the same car, so it's pretty much a head-to-head in terms of drivers and setup rather than the actual machinery that you have. And it's a second down after the first sector split, and now starts to climb the hill.
Still, we're seeing though people having yet to improve on their times of yesterday as Gilliland gets oh so close to the wall there, but although each car subsequently is getting faster than the previous, still the road is not quite as conducive as it was yesterday to good times. And as Gilliland got a problem, he slows, look, coming towards Carnet's seat. So the Euro NASCAR is going to trickle to the line, but a problem, something has broken in the transmission, I fear. So Nick Jarvis knows that he's still safe as he watches on the screens. And Todd Gilliland is going to have a fail next to his name, I suspect, because the car has ground to a halt and he's not going to get to the line. That's going to give us a delay, a red flag, while that car is retrieved. He's close to the end of the run, but unless he can get the car fired up again and move it off the road, Andy Newell's GT40 is going to have to wait, and yes, indeed, we do have a red flag.
Well, hopefully it shouldn't take too long to clear. Plenty of marshals around the course, and especially up at the top there, they'll be able to either push him up or roll him back down to the little runoff area on the right-hand side, and it is going to be down the hill and to the left-hand side as we look at it here. But great stuff from the marshals. Thank you very much for their help over the course of this weekend.
Nick Jarvis looks on as the Aston Martin sculpture in front of Goodwood House, still the focal point of the weekend, looking so impressive. Andy Newell is going to be the next to go. Quick recap of where we are in the times. It's Nick Jarvis with the Escort WRC, the rally car, ahead of Jérôme Galpin's Euro NASCAR, ahead of a 1990s Group A touring car. How's that for variety?
It's unbelievable, isn't it? The amount of different cars that we have all competing against each other. Here's a look at some of the cars we've had. The Formula Ford Van Diemen from 1988, one of them. The former Michael Schumacher car, taking the checkered flag.
And Richard Wilson did go top of the times at that juncture until the ludicrously brave Julian Majube arrived on the scene with a 1927 Bugatti. I mean, just look at the commitment being put into that. Absolutely flying, wasn't he? And Julian Majube went fastest and stayed fastest for a good period of time, 64.2 seconds. Gianfranco Brancatelli came along then with the Rudy Eggenberger run in time, in period, Ford Sierra RS 500. Lit up the tyres and blasted down toward the first corner. You want to light up the tyres to try and get some warmth in, but not light them up too much so that you lose momentum on the line. Yeah, exactly, and the balance to be struck. Nick Jarvis then, fastest so far in the Escort. And Jérôme Galpin, always spectacular. Jérôme's a pretty tiny bloke. Put him in one of those cars and he can certainly drag a good time out of it. There he is in the Team FJ overalls and looking at one of his customers effectively, because it's one of his cars that's now had to be pushed off the road, and time for an M&M. Walking away from it is the driver there, Todd Gilliland.
Well, they've managed to put it away in a safe place for now, so that's good to see. And hopefully that won't give us too much of a delay before we can focus on Andy Newell's fantastic Ford GT40 Roadster. Thank you so much for sticking with us here at Goodwood. We appreciate it. Was not the pleasantest of mornings, not the most pleasant of mornings is probably the correct English, and it's great that it's able to clear up and we're having some pretty much dry running this afternoon. Whether it'll be dry enough to get the fastest ever time, we'll have to wait and see. We've got about 20 cars or so left to run.
We're still not quite as quick in most cases for drivers today compared to their time of yesterday, but we're still in isolation for a great shootout, but it's just all fascinating to see whether the record can be broken, isn't it? So Andy Newell is next to go. The car from 1965, this 4.7 litre V8 GT40 Roadster. Only 3 of these were made. They took the roof off the car, but it didn't really make it did save it a little bit weight. This car that John Whitmore and Bob Bonjour drove in the 1965 Tour. And it was one of the few events where it wasn't disadvantaged on that length of lap. Sadly, the car crashed out. Now, Andy Newell is an absolute gun in historic racing. He's a great preparer of historic racing cars as well. Came from Formula Ford 1600 in the 1980s, but Andy Newell, great value to watch. You've established that so far, looking at him coming onto Park Straight. If anybody can go quicker than the Escort, Andy could well be the man, even though the car's much older, and he's having a real go as he heads up towards the Flint Wall now.
Looks brilliant, sounds brilliant. The sector split is not quite brilliant enough. Takes him a second away. He's nearly there or thereabouts as he powers now up towards the line. Nick Jarvis's rally car is the quickest time so far. The Ford GT40 Roadster cuts the timing lead and misses out by half a second, and that half a second slots him all the way down to 3rd place.
Does indeed, but in his class, not a bad effort. Remember, that car is from 1965, so that puts him into the GT and Sports Prototype 65 to 81 class. He's up against much more modern opposition, but still going to be a good time, I'm sure, as David Gilliland now gets ready to go. The family seems to like confectionery, doesn't it? Because Tom's got one confectionery backer and Dave's got the other.
What confectionery would you have on your Euro NASCAR?
I'd go for this one.
Okay. Through the first corner he comes, and we've seen these NASCARs be pretty spectacular over the course of the weekend. You can see how lively it is and how much it's leaning over towards the left-hand side as he comes through that second right-hander now up Park Straight towards the left-hander here at Moulcom, where we actually lost one of the NASCARs earlier on, and he gets on the dirt on the outside. That is right on the limit.
There's a lot of commitment being put into this. The time to beat, a 56.92. Now, where is he at the next sector? Let's have a look. He is a second up. That is looking good. This should put him at the top, except he's a bit sideways through Carnet's seat. Now he's got to get it into a straight line. Foot nailed to the boards, up towards the checkered flag, up towards the timing line. And he goes fastest of all, 55.37. David Gilliland then goes fastest.
A second and a half quicker than that man, Nick Jarvis. Very, very good run from the Euro NASCAR. And now we have got an American NASCAR in the hands of the Chevrolet Monte Carlo, in a man who knows what he's doing in Formula One, in Le Mans. Never seen him race NASCAR before.
Here, racing, but there's not many things Emanuele hasn't raced. He's got a good, of course, Goodwood Revival pedigree with success in historic GT cars, multiple Le Mans winner, Formula 1 racer, touring car BMW driver as well on his way up, because he was a regular part of the Schnitzer BMW team with Gerhard Berger and with Roberto Ravaglia. Emanuele loves coming to Goodwood. He's an honorary member of the British Drivers Club for his exploits, and he is giving this Chevrolet a real workout.
Sounds fantastic, doesn't it, as it climbs the hill, echoing off the flint wall, and we'll get this in a moment. There is the quickest man so far, but Pirro to become that man, because he's 0.2 of a second down. He's all over the shop coming to the final turn.
Very sideways, and that cost him dear. 55.372. Yes, 55.17 by 2/10. Emanuele Pirro goes fastest in the shootout here at Goodwood, and that was a very brave effort indeed.
What a noise that was. So fantastic stuff. And we are now going to move away.
Something. You get the best one until now. I don't know what Emanuele is doing.
You had the best lap until now. Brilliant lap. This is NASCAR.
But it's big and it's brutal. It's the March Chevrolet 717, the car built for Can-Am racing, but this actually spent most of its time in Europe in the Series, which was the European version of Can-Am. A year earlier, in the forerunner to this car, Helmut Keller's won and Prof. Richard Dodkins has this omnipotent Chevrolet-powered March. It's an absolute beast. He's raced it for many, many years. It fills the road, but Richard has mastered this with a lot of experience.
9.2-litre V8. You can see it right behind him. It's unbelievable. Just look, just behind the driver's head. Stunning, stunning piece of kit.
So he's down in the sectors, but it's still great to see Richard. He's still being careful, understandably. Richard has been racing in historic sport for 3 decades, if not more. Loves this type of car. He's not afraid to let people race it either. If anybody ever shows an interest, I've always offered a seat, and he's enjoyed his run. But that's the man currently who is the fastest with a spring in his step.
Emanuele Pirro, my boy Wonder.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
So he's speaking to Julia Bradbury there for the ITV4. We'll be able to see GTS1. A noisy, noisy car. This from the mid-90s.
It's only got a 5.5-litre engine. It's a V8. It only does 750 horsepower. But I tell you what, it gets the wax out of your ears, especially over the range drive. Ollie Bryant can really push this car. Very experienced GT racer, modern and historic. This car dates back to 1995. 3 Trans Am titles taken by this, and he's quickest in the first sector.
Finished third at the Daytona 24 Hours in that year as well in 95. Oliver Bryant powering his way now towards the Flint Wall, where we'll get the second sector split. Barely enough room to manoeuvre through that narrow part of the second. He's down now by 4/10 of a second, so it's all past Carney's seated up towards the final corner, down to whether Bryant can beat Pirro as he comes towards the line.
So 55 to beat, he's not going to do it. The time is out to Ayer in sectors 2 and 3. Where does he drop in? in third. Ollie Bryan goes third fastest, 56.55 in the Trans Am Mustang. It's a good effort. Now, how about this? Is this the ultimate Ford Focus? It's Tony Quinn's Pikes Peak car, 3.8 litre V6, turbocharged engine, and the New Zealander ready to go. Power coming from a twin-turbo V6 engine from a Nissan GTR. This means 850 brake horsepower is on tap. Good luck, Tony Quinn, as he now takes on the challenge of the Goodwood Hill.
Thanks to that four-wheel drive and all of that power, he's got 1.3 seconds faster in the first 100 metres of the course. So launching off the line, not a problem for Quinn, but and now he's 2.2 seconds up. So this is a really good from Tony Quinn.
He's going to put him top, surely, unless he drops the plot now. He's a little cautious, maybe, going to the Flint wall, understandably, but he threads his way between the Bales and the Flint, and now towards Carnay Seat. 2 seconds up in the second split point, 55.17 to beat. He should do that easily. And he gets into the straw. Is that going to delay him? Yes. Is it going to matter? No. He goes quickest on a 52.40, and he's brought a bit of a Bale back with him.
Just shortening the corner, David.
Of course, for others to come later, yes. Well, that was quite a run, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Here's a look at it again, coming through the final corner. Oh, just caught it with the rear left of the car. Wonderful stuff. And that Ford Focus across the line. And Emanuele Pirro there, texting everyone, tweeting everyone, saying, I'm fastest at the moment.
But except not anymore. 761, taking you back to the Formula One season of 1976. Raced by the likes of then later by Henton, by Stuck, by Jody Scheckter even, and Katsuya Kubota. Great fan of 3-litre Formula One cars, also a great fan of Lotuses. He's got a lovely collection of them. And Katsuya Kubota accelerates now. He's down by a second in the first split.
Peterson won in a 761 like this at the Italian Grand Prix in 1976, which probably more vividly remembered Niki Lauda's return after his accident, and he's in the wall. Katsuya Kubota into the Bales, and that is not going to be a quick lap time. He's not going to come to the end of the session, and that is frustrating. He's climbing out of the car, which is good to see, but a dramatic end to the run for him.
And a lot of damage, I'm afraid, because that's taken a wheel off. As Tony Quinn is all smiles because he's the fastest. He's smiling about the time, not the demise of poor Katsuya Kubota, but I'm afraid, yeah, that's done a lot of damage, hasn't it? Wing off, Bale damage, and Katsuya goes to survey the damage. There's the wheel, look, at the very back of the shot. That was quite a moment, wasn't it?
Well, it seems as though he maybe just, where we've seen people brush the Bales before, he's taken it a bit too tight and sort of ripped the rear left off the car, basically, as he makes his way up the hill.
With barely a second glance, has a look at the damage and then thinks, right, time to walk away. Don't think of the cost. But great shame, because the drivers bring these cars, many of them, of course, with huge value to entertain us. That's the last thing we want to see. Yes, we like some drama, but not like that. Talk us through this, Jack.
Well, here's a look at the replay, and he's just going to pop in to... So I think just as he's coming through that left-hander on the way to Carnay Seat, he's hit the Bale on the inside. It's in that blind spot between that part of the course and the Flint wall beforehand. So it sort of happened a little bit out of sight, but Katsu's okay. The March Cosworth 761, not so much.
Indeed so. But I'm sure that it will be repaired, maybe not before the end of this season, but for the following season of FIA Masters Historic Formula One racing. Now, while we've got a little break, let's see whether we can catch up with not only the drivers, but our reporter, Ed Foster.
Tony Quinn, a lot of drivers today who have been about 4 or 5 seconds slower in the wet. You, not so much. A very, very quick run from you.
No, I'm just getting used to it. I mean, that's only the 4th time or whatever we've been up, and the car's just getting better, and it just likes that left-hand side a bit more than I'd like. But that was not so bad as this front straight, where the cold tyres, we just nearly didn't stop. So anyway, it would have been better, but so be it.
Now,
another day.
Now I see that you've been helping the Duke of Richmond clear up some of his straw bales with your near side front. What happened there?
Well, no, there's a shortage of hay in Australia, and I thought I'd be taking some home with me.
Very wise of you.
Yes, it's very considerate.
Well, congratulations, and let's see what happens in the next few minutes.
Thank you. Oh, I know what's going to happen.
Tony Quinn not thinking positive, but perhaps being realistic anyway.
Yeah, did I move the bail?
Indeed.
Did the bail get moved? No.
Did the bail get moved, he asked. Well, you sort of just edged it, but
Yeah.
Katsu Kubota has done more damage, sadly, to bales and cars. So our marshals are on hand to, first of all, sweep the road, then to make sure that the course is safe, and also the recovery team there to get the car out of harm's way. Let's have a quick look at the order thus far. Tony Quinn is the fastest then, from Emanuele Pirro, the gun timer 52.40. David Gilliland third, ahead of Ollie Bryant. Then you've got Nick Jarvis fifth from Jerome Galpin. Andy Newell is seventh fastest, and Richard Dodkins eighth with the Interserie March 717. Gianfranco Brancatelli now is ninth, ahead of Julian Majube. Louis McLaughlin 11th. Then it's Joe Macari's Ferrari, Richard Wilson's Van Diemen, and Greg Heacock, who for a lot of the early part of the run was the fastest, 67.38 being his time. Ben Collins is next, and then Tom Alexander is next with the Aston Martin DB4 GT. Then you've got James Wood from David Ayer, William Medcalf as we look at some of the earlier cars, Duncan Pittaway 21st, Andrew Howe Davis from Herman Leher, and Holly Mason, Frank Hitty's Aston Martin Ulster. But to be fair to many of those drivers, they had to cope with a damper and still therefore slower and more slippery course. Nick Pellet being at the foot of the times, he was one of the first to go with William Evans and Julian Grimwade, also one of the drivers towards the foot of the times after the first. What have we had? 31 cars up the hill. The reason for this interruption is as we try to retrieve Katsu Kubota's car. Good news is, though, that yes, the road is getting quicker and drier, but the sun is starting to break through. The weather is improving, and it's a much more enjoyable day all round. And the umbrellas that we saw earlier, now no longer needed.
Indeed. And if you think these cars that are going up the hill now are going quickly, which they are, we're going potentially 12 seconds quicker come the end of the... come the end of the runs, and these cars look spectacular already, but we're just going to be going faster and faster and faster as these runs progress here at the 2019 Goodwood Festival of Speed. Another fantastic weekend, fantastic crowd, and we've had all sorts of action on the hill climb earlier on today. We've had drift cars going up. We had an Aston Martin moment with Sebastien Ogier spinning around in a rally car at the same time. What a shot that was.
And anything he could do, Alvin Evans could do better. This underlining how wet the road was earlier on, how quickly it's dried out, actually. Alvin Evans, winner of Wales Rally GB, very emotional win 2 years ago on home soil. And great competitor here. We've also had Steve Blomqvist up the hill at the start of the day, coping with the wet. And another great vision of the ex-Richard Byrne Subaru Impreza doing donuts on its way up the hill. In Trans Am, we've had the Audi 90 and 200 Quattros. We've also had Colin Turkington, BMW. Great mix of cars, and getting quicker and quicker as the day has gone on. Tom Christensen celebrating his birthday in the Audi DTM equivalent of the BMW M4 that you've just seen. And Tom, who's found a drive in most things over the weekend, having to cope with the wet, and see how much spray the car generated on its way to the timing line.
Well, it's an example, isn't it, of all the downforce that is produced that then flips up at the other end. Then we had the fantastic Ken Block out in his Ford. Really, really brilliant to have Ken Block here again. All of the drift cars, Vorkitten Jr. sliding his Mustang. This is a man who's drifted the whole way around the Nordschleife, so a little bit of road here in Goodwood is a fairly straightforward thing in the grand scheme of things.
A well-watered road, but getting the car sideways. The drifters perhaps wanting a bit more traction so they can really show off as the road gets drier. If you go to the arena, you'll see them in their mosh pit performing for you for the rest of the afternoon. But great stuff as ever from the Drift Kings.
Look at that, drifting at the flip wall. That's a great one.
Lights on, flame out. Great vision through there. Now this Ferrari engine Toyota, one of the highlights of the weekend, is perhaps the most, or one of the most, but it's great to watch.
I think it's the most unorthodox, actually. Okay. I think that's a fair call, and it's just stupid. It's just mad.
And it works, and it makes a good noise, and boy, is it well driven.
Look at that. The drift all the way around Morecambe Corner in the pouring rain.
Scooter in its HKS colours, all over the grass. Mad Mike Widet with the Lamborghini Huracan.
He said this was one of the scariest runs he's ever done because he's only been driving that Huracan a few days. It's only just been finished, and it was the first time that car got wet as well.
No clutch, just to make life even trickier. And as we have this break and the course is open, that's the view looking down Park Straight, just near our Erie on the outside of the approach to the corner. The marshals with the crossing open. And we've got our interruption, as you know, but the action is still coming thick and fast on the rally stage, because they're ready to go. Yet another wealth of Subarus and with, in fact, Citroens on the course as well. Watching all the action as they have been all weekend, Xavier McCartan and Tony Jardine.
Yeah, thank you, David. And you're just watching Sebastien Ogier in action now in the Citroen C3 WRC car. And he's got, we think he's got a French journalist, Pierre, alongside him. He has been flamboyant during this afternoon. He's had something like 7 runs, but we're not sure if now he's going for a time because the course has been drying out. It's been getting faster and faster. And Sebastien Ogier, before, you can just see him coming down to Delta here. He was showboating earlier on. He did a couple of donuts down here, but he also went over the inside of that bank on one of his runs with the 2 inside wheels, and he clattered back down to earth. But he's going really, really fast and furious now, and he has been enjoying himself. He gave a wonderful interview earlier on to Robin Bradford. He really opened up about what he wants to do on rallying, how he needs to recharge his batteries for the battle ahead, the big 3-way battle that's coming up in the World Rally Championship. So it's been a treat to watch him. And these are some of the highlights, David, and we've had Audi Quattros of all sorts. As you said, this is one of the cars that Walter Röhrl did not like. This is one of the cars that Jimmy McRae did like, the HSR Chevette 2.3 litre with the canted over engine. And you can remember that one winning the Circuit of Ireland rallying, or you can remember Walter Röhrl winning in 1982 in the Opel Ascona 400.
I was thinking the Chevette had a penti-auricular tweak on the back because it looked like it had a bit of damage on it, Toby.
Yeah, well, you can remember that famous footage penti-auricular. I think he did it in a Mitsubishi Starion, but on one of the rallies, it was either Isle of Man or Ireland. He went through this 5-bar gate through the field and came out the other side. But Marty McCormack in particular, David, looking at him now, his brother's been doing all the driving this weekend. He has arrived and he's been absolutely flamboyant, as you can see, flinging the Skoda Fabia around.
Tony, we'll leave you to it for the moment. Thanks to our rally team up at the rally stage. Now, we can hear from the man that was briefly the fastest, because Emanuele Pirro, a real Goodwood hero, is with Ed Foster.
Emanuele Pirro, it's quite a difficult track today. There's patches of wet, there's patches of dry. How did you find it?
Well, first I would like to say thank you to the Euro NASCAR Whelen Series guys who lent us some rain tires, otherwise it would not have been possible. I enjoyed every single meter. It just brought back this little competitive spirit which was hidden in the cellar full of dust, and just I loved it. And because everybody's hearing, I would like to say thank you to all the marshals, all the helpers, and the people who always support us. It's a wonderful weekend. Thank you, and let's keep going like that.
Emanuele, you were used to driving top-of-the-range LMP cars in your career. You've just come up the hill in the NASCAR. A very different machine.
Yes, it is, but thank God, even after a very long career, the side of my heart of an enthusiastic fan is still there, so I can enjoy every single thing, and I don't have this attitude of, I'm a spoiled guy and only things that are perfect are good. I enjoy every single thing, and this is a good gift.
Emanuele, thank you very much.
Ciao, guys. Thank you all.
He really is a great guy, Emanuele Pirro, wonderful enthusiast of motorsport, and we've been joking about leave the car door open, you'll find him in it driving it, but he just loves motorsport, and it's great to have him here with such commitment and enthusiasm. Let's have another look at the fastest run so far. car. This is Tony Quinn in the Ford Focus Pikes Peak. It's designed for doing runs like this, but on a much longer scale. And he discovered how damp it was at turn 1 and how cold his tyres were.
Certainly did, didn't he? Really lively stuff in that Ford coming through the first couple of corners. Then this is the run up towards Moulcombe along Park Straight, over the little crest. Blind entry, then through the left-hander. At this point he kind of calmed down a little and settled. Still pushing hard, but not quite as leery as the first couple of turns as he came up towards the Flint Wall. In the final couple of corners, and this is the quickest lap time by the moment, about 7/10 of a second ahead of Pirro in that Chevrolet Monte Carlo.
Almost came unstuck there, didn't it? So there you can see the straw tucked into the front wing and the splitter, and Tony Quinn having a look at the damage, but got away with it. Meantime, David Gilliland and Jérôme Galpin discussing what it's been like in a Euro NASCAR. And Dan Harper comes to the start line. I reckon we've got about 8 cars still to go. Dan, who is the leader of Carrera Cup GB, the one-mate British Porsche Championship, 911 on the side of the car, and he is still in his late teens, Dan Harper. He's a very, very impressive young British talent. Northern Irish driver, came from Ginetta Juniors into the championship, and away he blasts. This car heads up the hill. It is a 4-litre flat 6 engine, and with the road getting drier all the time, Dan Harper go quickest.
So he's in the GT3 Cup car as we get the hill climb action back underway here at Goodwood after that little red flag, and he's using as much of the road as he possibly can. Through the first split he comes now, and how's he doing compared? He's up by 0.2 of a second, so he's up to Moulcombe Corner.
Looking good, isn't it then, for Dan Harper? He's Dan the man. Let's see, the time he's got to beat is a 52.40 as he comes past the Flint Wall. He's been up and down the hill in all sorts of cars over the weekend. He's got even quicker still through the second intermediate. So this should put Dan Harper quickest of all then as he comes up towards the timing line. 52 to beat. He's going to be in the 50s, but where is he going to be as he breaks the beat? Now on a 50.89, Dan Harper is fastest.
Found a lot of time in that final sector, didn't he? Ended up 1.5 seconds ahead of Quinn, although that was when Quinn brushed the bales, so that may well account for some of that time gained by Dan Harper. So really good run up the hill in that Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. And next we're going to see, I really enjoy watching this next car, James Cottingham at the wheel of the Dallara SP1, and he gives it some.
Absolutely right. The ex-Pedro Lamy, Thomas Olivier Beretta, Orica, back in its original PlayStation Judd 4-litre V10 engine in it. James reckons it's the best sounding car here. Very experienced historic racer. He's a very brave racer, and he is on it.
Fantastic stuff as he comes up now towards Moulcombe Corner. How's he going to fare in the first split? Gets onto the brakes now, and he's got half a second's advantage.
So it's looking good, James Cottingham in this Dallara, but then passing to roll centre colours and was run by Martin Short's team. Max Girardot, the new owner, drove it yesterday. James Cottingham has certainly taken his brave pills this morning. The road is getting drier. He's nearly a second to the good of the second intermediate. The time he's got to beat is a 50.89. That's against the GT3 Porsche of Dan Harper. He breaks the beam at a 49.55. James Cottingham goes quickest.
So that's the first driver into the sub 50 seconds, and that was about a second slower than he managed earlier today still. So we're still a little bit adrift of the ultimate lap time. Now this is going to be fun.
This is going to be sideways. This is going to be spectacular. This is going to be worth watching. Oliver Solberg, then, son of the great Petter Solberg. He's been a real hit this weekend. He's been on the rally stage. He's been in the drift arena. He's been on the hill. He's been in a variety of cars. Oliver Solberg has been great value all weekend. The Citroën DS3 WRX launches itself off the line. Brilliant acceleration with four-wheel drive from these cars. First sector, he's a second, he's got bags of understeer, and he's got to sort that out on the run now. Up Park Straight, look at this!
That's unbelievable from Oliver Solberg in the Citroën. Fantastic stuff now as he comes up the hill. Is he going to get on with the same shenanigans here up at Moulcombe? Onto the brakes, flips it in, back on the board, hooks it up, powers up the straight.
He's quick with the second point, it's all sideways, but he's managed to save it. Through past Flint Wall he goes, the total wags. So he's got to try to beat a 49.5. Yes, going through the second nearly sideways, but he's millimetres away from the bales. Oliver Solberg up towards the timing line. He's sideways again. There's the flag. Can he go to a 49? Yes, he can. A 49.39 puts Oliver Solberg fastest. Fantastic stuff. Great reception for Oliver Solberg. Brilliant effort. I don't think it's going to stay as the top time, and it could have been quicker, maybe, had he not had his major moment here, but wasn't it good to watch?
I love this man. I love this man. Here he is at Moulcombe.
Petter, this is what you've got to live up to. If Dad's watching, he'll know what he's got to beat, and he'll know how to drive. So there is James Cottingham, who watches Oliver Solberg arrive completely sideways.
At the top of the hill at the assembly area, chucking it round and round in some donuts. He has got some style. He has got some, all of the drivers up there applauding Oliver as well. Fantastic stuff.
Absolutely. Now, the next car that we should have is the Mahindra M6 Electro, the second generation Formula E car, to be driven by the man that still has the course record, a 41.6 Nick Heidfeld set in 1999. He's next up to the line. Can he maintain that record? Well, if he can, I think it's going to be by others' performance rather than a performance in this car, to be fair. But it's still a very rapid piece of kit. If you're not familiar with Formula E, it is a category that's been a huge success in a very short space of time. We'll come back to that in a moment, because here's the hero of the weekend in many senses. Oliver Solberg out of the car.
49.39. I missed the first corner.
I missed the first corner. Yeah, we noticed, Oliver. No kidding. But he's the fastest so far.
That was good. My first corner, I really fucked it up.
Well, apologies for the language there, but he's not wrong, but apologies for that. Here's a look at the first corner where he just sort of, well, as you said, David, massive understeer, right, nearly end up in the grass.
Yeah, and then, look, he mows the lawn on the inside, flicks it sideways, and had to sort that one out as well. It's great to watch, but it didn't help the time. It was quick, but it could have been quicker, and you've got the message. But don't forget, these rallycross cars with absolutely stunning acceleration and a great reception. Goodwood, well done for Oliver Solberg. Oliver, make sure you come back next year, please.
So I think the Formula E car's got an issue, so we are moving on to the next car of Jörg Weidlinger. There you can see the Formula E car's trying to sort it out. There is Nick Heidfeld standing at the front there as the Mahindra team try and get it sorted again. But this BMW is quite something going up the hill too.
Yeah, it is. It's this 3.4-litre V8 Judd engine car from 1991. Looks like a race-prepared BMW M3. It's designed with its 560 brake horsepower for hill climbing. The Judd V8 really designed for prototype power in this car. Jörg Weidlinger then with a huge rear wing for downforce goes through the first intermediate. He's trying to be precise, but he's also trying to be quick.
560 horsepower coming out of this V8 Judd as he climbs up now to Moulcombe, arriving at very impressive speed. Onto the brakes, back on the power, and up the hill. We'll get a look at his second intermediate split in a moment as he comes up past the flip wall. Not short of commitment though, Jorg. He's a little bit away from the fastest time. He has about 1.1 seconds away from Oliver Solberg at the moment.
Indeed so. It's going to be good though, isn't it? Still, it's going to put him in the mix in the top three potentially. His target's going to be James Cottingham, and he goes third, misses out on the top time by 1.26 seconds. So the BMW does a 50.65. Jörg Weidlinger goes third fastest. It's Oliver Solberg there, he is, who is still the fastest. Now Nick Heidfeld we've seen out of the Formula E car, so it's time to look for Solberg Senior. Petter is next to the line. So Oliver had the Citroën. This is the Volkswagen, which was the car to beat for 2 seasons in World Rallycross. Absolutely dominated in the hands of Johan Kristoffersson last year in the World Rallycross Championship. Oliver says, right, need to go and watch the old man. Excuse me. Goes to find a timing screen. And so Petter Solberg, World Rally Champion, World Rallycross Champion. He's always been box office, and this is right as he blasts away from the line, up through the gears, and Petter Solberg concentrates hard as he heads down towards the first corner. This is well sideways. Petter much more in control. And now launches up Park Straight, loads up the grass, isn't he? And he almost runs wide.
Little dab on the brakes through the middle of the corner there for Petter Solberg. Hooked up the start, 6,000ths quicker than his son. Now he's onto the brakes coming into Moulcombe, and he's 7/10 of a second down, predominantly through that first corner. Petter maybe a little less spectacular, but driving it the fastest way.
And he's taking it seriously. Got a new set of tyres flown in on Thursday night after he'd had a first run up the hill. He's a second time in the second intermediate. So this should put Petter Solberg fastest. The time he's got to beat is a 49.39, but where's it going to be? Is it in the 48s? He breaks the beam. It's a 47.83. 47.83 for Petter Solberg. He goes fastest. And Oliver has a look. Sorry, he's second now, Oliver, but that was a great effort by Petter Solberg.
Look at him, straight to look at the timing screens to see the various sector splits. Petter was so close to the bales coming through the final left and right. Absolutely superb. But here he is now arriving at the sector. With the top.
You know the Solbergs are in town, don't you? How about that for an arrival? Everybody responding well to that.
I want to be a Solberg.
Well, you could be Jeremy Smith if you were brave enough, because this guy hustles this car amazingly. This ex-Emerson Fittipaldi Penske launches off the line. Jeremy Smith has been really brave through Flint War on his previous runs up the hill. He's down a little bit, going down to the first corner. He doesn't have the acceleration off the line that the rallycross cars do. This is where he can make up the time up the hill.
So here he comes then, along Park Straight towards Molecombe Corner, up through the gears. And he gets onto the brakes in this car that won the 1993 Indianapolis 500. And that is neat and tidy. We go on board. This is going to be scary after the football. Listen to this. Back on the power. So no! The back it goes. And it's 1.6 seconds now. A bit more time there. That is a lively, lively run from Jeremy Smith in the Penske Chevrolet PC22.
He may have lost time, but he has gained a huge laundry bill, that's for sure. That was a mighty moment. Jeremy Smith breaks the beam. He goes fourth fastest, 50.31 seconds, so Petter Solberg is still the quickest. Whoa, I wasn't convinced that was coming back. Jeremy Smith deserves a big round of applause for that, because that was some run. It means that if the Formula E car is not going to be able to run, we've got one more car to go. It is the Volkswagen ID of Romain Dumas. He went up the hill yesterday in just under 40 seconds. Whether he can do that is a moot point, but really the target is to go quicker than 41.6 to beat Nick Heidfeldt's record, and that's now really what the attention is going to be around. However, Nick Heidfeldt is going to have a go. The Formula E Gen 2 car has been Control-Alt-deleted in a sense and given a reset, and it's there ready to run.
It's called a power cycle.
That's what I meant. I was just speaking old person's speak. Nick Heidfeldt then is the man behind the wheel, and it's a completely different type of run, this, because it's going to be quieter, it's going to have a different sensation, but one thing's for sure, it'll be quick.
Away goes Heidfeldt then, getting a little bit of wheel spin off the line as he comes towards the first corner, running at 250 kilowatts of electrical power, which is about 335 horsepower, as he comes towards the first sector now, comes through the right-hand corner that leads him out onto Park Straight. All you can hear is the wind noise on the onboard from this car as it comes up to Molecombe Corner now, and he's 2 seconds down at the moment as he comes through Molecombe and then climbs up the hill. This is the second generation Formula E car, and they have their season finale this weekend, next weekend I should say, in New York City on the streets of Brooklyn, and he's about 3 seconds away here, Nick Heidfeldt, in the Mahindra from Petter Solberg's time.
So the time to beat is a 47. He's not going to get near that as the car whistles its way up towards the line. There's the flag. Where's he going to be? 51.99, only 7th for Nick Heidfeldt, but now he will head to a timing screen and watch and wait and have a look at the big screens too to see what Romain Dumas can do. Le Mans winner, Pikes Peak record holder. He is the man with the fastest lap round the Nordschleife for an electric car. There he is. He comes up towards the line. So the figures really are now what we need to be looking at. This car should go fastest within the shootout, no question. Yesterday, he did a 39.90 in sunny conditions. Can he do that on a damp road? Doubt it. Can he go quicker than 41.6, the course record, which will now be officially compared against? That is possible because the road is drying. Romain Dumas blasts away from the line. Storms down towards the first corner. Really, we're looking at the time of 41.6 to beat, and straight away he's quicker than anybody in the first intermediate.
Decent first split then for Romain Dumas in this all-electric Volkswagen IDR, making his way along Park Straight, and he arrives at Molecombe Corner so fast, stamps on the brakes, tucks it into the left-hander, and back on on the power. What is this split going to be as he comes up towards the Flint wall? He did a 29.46 after the 39.9 after the second split yesterday. This is looking good for Dumas as he comes towards the line, but will it be a record?
The question is, can he go quicker than 41.6 seconds? He's not going to do that. He comes across the line and wins the shootout on a 42.32.